there was one guy who was doing this. Petrol is really cheap there. So they had someone put a pipe, like a garden hose, to the other side, and he used to pump gas through it to Europe and sell it here. Then he couldn't resist, so he also made one for vodka. So he got cheap vodka from Russian side from a pipe.
Hello, Mike, and welcome. By popular demand, not necessarily listeners, but people in our lives have requested you to get on the mic here. I think a fair description of you would be what Hunter Thompson said about his lawyer: too weird to live, too rare to die. So you're a businessman in Estonia, is that right? You've never held a job. No one else has been your master. A self-made man.
Yes, I guess so. And thank you for inviting me to the podcast. My first podcast appearance. So that's it.
You also went to business school, right? So you're not just some kind of... You didn't start by doing card tricks on the street for tourists or anything like that.
No. I started with Estonian business school. That's where it all started from.
They call that the Harvard of Eastern Europe.
Yeah. That they do.
I don't know who they are, but we'll call it that. And so, what kind of things have you sold on your journey? Clocks, watches?
Well, since I started originally by selling candy in school, but that was ages ago. But so a little bit about me. I moved here to Estonia. I've been living here now about 10 years, on and off. And actually, when I moved here, you visited here often. I think it was the first 2 years I was in EBS. You were visiting there.
Yeah. What did they call me when I visited the people?
The salmon Jew.
Why did they call me the salmon Jew?
Yeah, apparently the salmon pricing in Estonia is really good, and on your visits, the only food you had was salmon.
Yeah.
And I think they combined.
Yeah, they threw in the Jew there at the end from just general Eastern European anti-Semitism, I guess.
Right.
It's like a tradition over there. So yeah, you started selling candy in school. Then at some point we moved into textiles, and then you had some adventures in Eastern Estonia by the Russian border.
Yeah, it was during university's times. That's how I started off. In university, I was selling these one-piece, I don't know what they're called. You saw the thing, like one-piece outfits for schools with their school print and this kind of stuff. And I guess that's where I started from. I manufactured the clothing here, sold them in Finland, and then that thing led to another and to another. There's been a bunch of different stuff. There was some food business. There was, what else? Events. We had the event thing. I was a little bit ashamed. Corona a little bit came in the way. But we had a big event, student events happening here in Tallinn. I think it was like 5,000 people attending. I would do that for a little bit. Then I had a grill kiosk business, franchising business.
Yeah, you're selling Belgian fries or something.
It was fast food franchising mega corporation. Anyway.
I agree. I was going to say I remember the student events when you were doing that, but that would be an incorrect statement. That would be a very ironic way of saying it, because I don't think we remember much.
No, but I did the student events. I wasn't a student anymore when I was doing it, so it was a little bit later.
Yeah. You arrived at a business that you wanted to settle down with that was slightly more controllable with the hours and a more consistent income. So where did we end up then?
It was more about laziness, because all this stuff, selling clothing, selling food, selling this kind of stuff, there's too much stuff to do, and they always require, having a website and marketing and this kind of stuff. So then I just decided to concentrate on these. So at the moment, what I'm doing in Estonia is web development and marketing. And I have a base camp here. We have customers all around the world, mostly in Finland. Some customers in Holland, some in Spain. And especially after the Corona situation, things have changed a lot. And now it's no problem. You can run a business like this and live almost anywhere you want. And Estonia is a pretty good place for for small business owners, there's the system. It's pretty advanced. On the internet, you can do all your taxes, open up your LLCs, all this stuff, and taxation. There's no corporate tax, so it's the natural place to be if you are doing some kind of business.
Yeah, but when it comes to Finnish people, not you. You're more of a observer from the outside because you're not escaping the law. But a lot of Finnish people arrive there not only because it's a good place to set up a business, but also because they're escaping the law in Finland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's more about escaping the tax man. I don't think you're gonna, if you do an actual crime and you end up on Interpol list, you're not gonna be able to escape any crime inside Europe. I think maybe Belarus.
Yeah, so they're escaping the tax man, maybe hiding money if they can. Any interesting characters you remember you might have run into? You don't want to mention names because I feel like that might be dangerous to your...
Yeah, there's a lot of people, they come and go visiting here. Usually it's more like they come here at the end of the run when they burn their bridges everywhere else. Then they come here for a last hurrah. But and then I don't think it's so much to do that it's Estonia. It's more to do that it's not Finland. I think there's probably same kind of guys in Sweden and all around, you know, if you messed up your stuff. But traditionally, Estonia, there has been a lot of these guys, especially in the 90s when after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was a bunch of guys who came here. They did all kind of shenanigans. They basically robbed the whole government. They were mostly Finnish businessmen who came over and they took all the factories, like sock factories and all this kind of stuff. And that's why, for example, if I go to the bank here, they won't give me even credit card because they just take, oh, this guy's from Finland. It's up to no good.
In general, in Estonia, it's not just Finns, but the Finnish, you can see them doing it. But it's also Russians, Swedes, everyone. But people treat the place like a playground, and they treat the locals like shit. And they usually not up to any good. If it's just general tourists, they're there drinking and getting way too drunk and misbehaving. And if it's businessmen, they might be there to do something shady that they want to hide from their authorities in their home countries and so forth.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of this. And there's, like, for example, the local people, they don't really think very highly of foreigners, especially Finnish people, because they've been coming over, misbehaving, doing all these shenanigans. And I think it goes back to the 90s when there was these situations that there's, for example, in the Soviet Union, someone might have been working in a sock factory or something like this. And the factories, they were filled with workers because they didn't have to make any profits. That wasn't the point in Soviet Union. So then these businessmen came from Finland and Sweden and bought, in quotation marks, all these factories and fired, 80% of the staff because they've just been overstaffed. And I think this is why people are not so happy with the Finnish companies here. But then on the other hand, the main reason why Estonia is doing much better than Lithuania or Latvia, that's also mainly because of Finnish corporations having their companies here, banks and many developers have their base here. Well, now there's a lot of IT companies and this kind of stuff around here.
That's a good point. You said Estonia is doing so much better than Latvia and Lithuania and all that. And recently they've had this post-Soviet economic miracle in Estonia. They're always talking about it, and they've shot up the PISA rankings for education and when it comes to rankings of medical schools and all this stuff. But both you and I have seen a sort of dirtier underbelly to this country, mostly you, but you've shown me some places. Is all of that mostly bullshit? Like, the statistics only include Estonian speakers, and there's a lot of Russian speakers who aren't included in any of that.
Well, in all of it's very easy. It's very easy to make these kind of leaps and profits when you don't have any kind of social welfare system. So they have all the benefits of being in the EU. They have 0% corporate tax. Foreign investment is flooding in. They're building everywhere. They don't have to pay. There's no social welfare. There's no. I think if you're living here and you're not working, you maybe get I don't know. We're talking about tens of euros or something like that. So everybody has to do something. But then there is the dark side, is the people in society who are not able to work. They don't really have any options either. Their family has to take care of them, or then I don't know. I don't think there's any government stuff. I think in the winter time there's like one school sports hall that they open up if it's like -10 or something like that, and you can go sleep there.
Yeah. And but homeless people is one thing. What about like to get a job or to go to university in Estonia? You have to speak Estonian, right? And there's a huge chunk of the population that only speaks Russian.
Yeah, you can't even get a passport or nationality. You get like the white one, the immigrant passport, and there's a bunch of people who have those, and they could be living in the same house as their grandparents are living and live there for century, and they still don't get the nationality. But I don't know. This you have to pass the Estonian language test, and then if you pass that, then you get the passport. I think so.
Yeah. When people, and now I have to be careful here, like I'm not going to support Putin or any kind of invasion or Ukraine or anything, but do you remember at the start of that war when, for any of us who bothered to check like what Russian propaganda is saying and all that, one of the big propaganda points that Putin's regime was pushing was that in like Eastern Ukraine, all these people are second-class citizens if they're Russian speakers and all that. And then that they need to be liberated or rescued or whatever. Well, surely, I mean, I'm not going to say anything that comes out of Putin's mouth is true, but I'm just saying that what we saw in when you leave Tallinn and some of the big cities in Estonia and you go like eastward and go see what's going on there, I think that's kind of true in Estonia. Like if he had invaded Estonia under that same pretext, then, you know, he would have had a bit of truth there, right?
I mean, yeah, I would have thought, like before this happened, I would have thought that's true, or very close to the truth. And for example, if you go to Narva, which is on the border, and there's a lot of like people who only speak Russian, and it's the whole city. The whole city is like 95% Russian speaking or something like that. And there, of course, there's a lot of little grannies and people who watch the Russian propaganda TV and believe all this stuff. But then there's the question of liberated what? They're in a EU country with fucking benefits. They're not gonna.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're not gonna if they get, for example, if there's a granny or someone who gets pension, good luck going to Russia and getting any pension.
Yeah, I don't think it would be better for Narva on the Estonian-Russian border to be made into a suburb of St. Petersburg. I don't think their life would be better with that. No.
No, and all these people, I haven't seen anything on the streets or nothing. I haven't heard anybody. After the Ukraine invasion, people who speak Russian, they were really quiet. They didn't even speak Russian in the street or in the buses or anything like that. But it's a little bit different because there's a bunch of people in Eastern Europe who speak Russian as their language, but they're still not Russian. They have nothing to do with Russia. They couldn't give a shit, what happens there. So a lot of these, I know a lot of, for example, my age people around here, they're not happy at all. They said that before you could go in peace, you could go around Europe, nobody had any issues. And now they're being blamed for something that they don't even know nothing about.
Yeah, but you would think it's in Estonia's interest overall to fix the status of Russian speakers in their country because of this risk that you're on the border with Russia. Like, when is Putin going to decide that he wants to liberate or say that he wants to liberate those people too? But then again, then they would lose all those yummy statistics of how well their schools are doing and how well their economic miracle is doing, because all of that is Estonian-speaking people, right?
Then you would have to let them into government, all of this kind of stuff. Then they'd be making decisions, and then they would have maybe even have a chance. But now, when they're not given a voice, how are you gonna? And it's strange because here, especially Tallinn is officially, I think, 70% of the people of their mother tongue is Russian language. And you can't see it anywhere. There's no signs, no nothing.
I had another question about Russian influence. So you're under a pseudonym. Your real name's not Mike, and also we're gonna change your voice just slightly with AIs. How often do you run into Russian mafia stuff in Estonia?
I don't know. I think that's a little bit, the Russian mafia stuff is probably a little legend stuff that's happening. And there's some stories you can hear.
But do you remember that the lady pulled a gun once? I don't know if it was Mafia or just this is the Wild East, as they say. We were in a bar that's open 24/7. Drunk as hell, and I decided to rest my legs, and I thought it was like a footstool, but apparently it was a table. And I got shouted at, and this lady had a gun. So that stuff still happens.
Yeah, but I don't think this is Mafia with just, lower class people. Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of violence and this kind of stuff in the slums, but like the real organized mafia stuff, I think they've managed to get it out from here. I think, was it 10 years ago or something, 15 years ago, they had a complete rehaul of the police department. They fired everyone and got new police officers to avoid corruption. If you do you remember when you were here when I started university and in Old Town? There's this like a 7 Series BMW with this Russian guy with like gold chains and prison tattoos, and like a taxi. It's like a taxi.
Yeah.
This guy is supposed to be some kind of fixture, but I don't know.
Yeah. The prison tattoos are a giveaway. Do you think the big bosses, they wouldn't let themselves be tattooed, right? Because they need to look like legitimate businessmen when they go do gas and oil deals and set up shell corporations in the Cayman Islands and plunder the resources of Africa and all that with Wagner and all that. Like these guys can't be having like face tattoos and stuff, right?
Oh, I think these face tattoo guys are just tools that are being used. There's some stuff, but I think they've managed to weed them out from society. I saw some news article about like the last mafioso or something like that. So I think it was more in the beginning of the 90s. But also here is this kind of culture that everybody's grandfather or everybody's father is some kind of mafia thing, but it's pure bullshit.
Yeah, probably the same in like New Jersey with American Italians and stuff, because there's so many movies about the mob guys that everyone's uncle's in the mob, right?
Yeah, I think the Hondas, but then Honda bank, the guy, the chief there got caught some kind of money laundering thing, and it was like really big amount. But I think that's one of the last ones that's been heard of. Probably, I don't know, some kind of bootleggers on the border. Heard something that there was one guy who was doing this. Petrol is really cheap there, so they had someone put a pipe, like a garden hose, to the other side, and he used to pump gas through it, to Europe and sell it here. Then he couldn't resist, so he also made one for vodka. So he got cheap vodka from Russian side from a pipe.
So these characters, there's been some others. There was a fella that I met who was a Finnish entrepreneur in Tallinn who he had like really hot girlfriends and stuff, but then he always ruined the relationship because he had this thing for like old Russian cleaning ladies.
Yeah, I know this guy.
Yeah, and or like $5 like crack whore blowjobs in the parking lots of supermarket.
Yeah, he got some issues, this guy.
Yeah, but Estonia is a super fun place, but also the income inequalities and like the difference between big cities and the periphery are huge. Do you remember when we once rented a car and you were like, okay, I'm gonna show you what it looks like out here, and we actually were on our way to what ended up being a pretty nice place, like a little park with some historical sites and whatever. But on the way, we stopped at this supermarket to buy some ice cream or something. It was a hot summer's day. And luckily you had your dog. You had your big scary dog, who looks exactly like you, by the way. And we arrive at this parking lot and just like zombies start appearing. Maybe they knew that this is an obvious rental car and this is a tourist, because these like junkies start slowly appearing and like kind of looking at us and kind of getting closer and like clearly staking out who these people are. And they didn't speak a word of any Western language, including Estonian. And then luckily we just took your big, huge, like, what is it, a Doberman Bulldog cross. We took him out and then they scattered away like back into the bushes.
Yeah. This is totally different. This like Eastern European Russian bomb style. They want these homeless people. It's nothing compared to Western countries, and it's different because in, let's say, in Finland or in England, if you would now start drinking and you'd go to the park for a week and just drink in the bushes, your wife would be fucking traumatized by it. She'd probably put you in some kind of therapy. But in Russian culture, in Russian like lower classes, it's normal. In the summertime, when the husband had summer vacation, he got to start drinking, and then he just go into the bushes and he drinks with his friends there for until his works out again. So
Yeah.
you can be like a part-time bum.
Yeah. But they're always wearing the same clothes. Like, you know, it's the same tracksuit that one day they're real sober and they want to look rich. So they do the Slavic squat in front of the neighbor's BMW, right?
Yeah.
And then the next day they're in the same tracksuit, out of their minds. Like they can't even speak, so drunk and just descending on rental cars.
Yeah, but this tracksuit culture, you know where that comes from? This like Slavic Adidas tracksuit.
Is it hip hop originally, or where does it come from?
No, it was in Russian prison. You were given the prison outfit, but then if you were like boss man, you would get your own Adidas tracksuit brought there. So then they like started wearing it after that, and it's like some kind of cultural thing that all the big guys are wearing tracksuits.
I see. Interesting. It's like if you work in tech in Palo Alto, you have to wear a fucking turtleneck and sneakers because Steve Jobs did it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So tell us, how's your dog doing? It's his story is fascinating.
Yeah, he's fine. He had a little accident a couple of days ago. He fell into a lake, freezing cold lake, so he was a little bit
Yeah.
in
You
shock.
jumped it. You had to jump in and save him.
I managed to pull him out, but he fell in. I think that would have been the end of him if I wouldn't have pulled him out.
Yeah. So you once drove from Estonia to Spain across Europe to rescue this dog and then drove back. But there was a bit more to the story because you rescued him from the authorities were gonna execute him because he had ripped up a neighbor. Was that what happened there?
He had a little bit of a misunderstanding with a neighbor.
Yeah. So the poor lady had her like guts exposed and stuff, and then you drove and you smuggled this machine gun with no safety catch. You smuggled it across Europe into a country where dangerous dogs are probably prevalent and also useful. So how long? Well, first of all, initially when you were taming him, he was hanging off the flesh of your arm. How was that?
Yeah, it took a little bit time to get to know each other. But
Yeah.
he's already now 14 years old, so he's pretty shit. He's a little bit more relaxed.
Oh yeah, I mean, just so we don't get sued. Yeah, he might be relaxed with you, but be careful out there, anyone new. So tell us about what happened when I met this dog for the first time.
It was the time when we were eating chicken wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't like your visits. So he came over, eat chicken wings. He don't like people visiting and eating. It's not a good combo.
It was a sound when he thought he would get the last one, but I like munched it real loud.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that. He always gets the last bites.
I see. And then not too long after that, he tried to kill me. But, you know,
There was
but you just saved it just in time. So how many death sentences does this dog have now? Because he also then attacked a waiter.
No, that was also just a misunderstanding.
Allegedly.
No, because in Spain you could get like a death sentence for the dog, or if the dog bites someone, they put it down. But here they don't have that. It's just then you have to go to court and pay a fine and whatever. But it never ended up in court, so
I mean,
all good.
once he tried, so we had already made friends and we had cuddled and wrestled and this thing, like in the mornings, he would sleep on the sofa above me. I was on the mattress, on a mattress on the floor, and I would wake up to this dragon that I would imagine dragons smell bad, but like this smelly dragon that I know is dangerous, just jumping with his mouth open at me, but he just wanted to wrestle. But after that whole connection had been made, he still tried to kill me a couple of times after, but he's a nice boy really, at heart. Right?
It takes some time for me to get to know this.
Yeah. So how does this affect the dating scene? Because let me just paint a picture here for the folks. You're a bulldog in stature and looks to a certain extent. Not a bad looking man. You're like a man with a capital M. Like we'll talk about maybe another day about your theories on testosterone. But you're a bulldog of a man, and you have this relatively unpredictable animal. So how is it meeting people in Estonia?
Well, the dog has managed to scare away at least 3 potential girlfriend candidates. They haven't come back. It's too scary, and they don't want anything to do with this. But I think it's a good filter.
It's tough if they're in the bed with you, right? Because that's his bed. But you're filtering out all the weak ones.
Yeah. All the weak ones and all the ones who can't handle smells.
Yeah, with you, I think that's a good idea. Filtering the smell, the ones who don't like smells, filter that out.
Just sensitive.
Any recent like encounters with characters? Any crazies who find you through your business?
Well, recently, actually, it's pretty recent. It's like past 3 weeks. I've had one customer. I don't know. He's probably going through something, but he is one of these crazies. But these sometimes come up. This people who they don't leave you alone and just harass you. But I think it just have to wait enough time. They're gonna come up with someone else to harass.
Yeah, I'm sure you've listened to all our other episodes. Do you have like a public service announcement for the end? Because I'm going to go with Visit Estonia. I'm going to put in an Estonian tourism ministry ad here, because I think it's a place worth at least like a 3-day visit. Beautiful old town, and you might run into some really interesting characters late at night that most of the time are safe, but just a little weird.
Yeah, well, I would definitely say visit Tallinn if you have the chance. Estonia. There's also other really cool cities here. For example, Pärnu, Saaremaa. In the summertime, they're cool places. I would recommend visiting. Maybe in the winter time, better to go visit somewhere else. Yeah. And if any of the listeners need a website, marketing, need to incorporate here in Tallinn, they can find me through you.
Yeah. Send an email to talkinghouspodcast@gmail.com, and then we'll connect you if you're a legitimate person. Because we don't want you deal with enough crazies in your life out there, so we're gonna try to filter them out for you first. And I've seen these websites; they're great, and also the other services you offer. I think you've found a good niche. It's a good business. We'll have you back when we need an update from the streets of Tallinn.
All right, perfect. And the website is evue.eu, where you can find.
All right, evue, evue.eu.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, great.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.